Class, I want to simplify this. So what we do is we're going to factor the top and factor the bottom is the first step. So to factor the top, the numerator, is there a GCF? That's the first thing you do is pull out your GCFs. So I pull a 4 out. That leaves me x squared minus x minus, how many times does 4 go into 24? 6. And on the bottom, is there a GCF? 2, but also an x. Don't they both have an x? So I could pull out a 2x, leaving me x, because 2x times x is 2x squared. And then what gives me negative 6x? It would be minus 3. Okay, now let's factor the top. That is a negative 6 on top and a negative 1 right there. So negative 6 and negative 1. What are my two sides going to be? Negative 3 and 2. So I leave the 4 out front, don't forget it. And it's going to be x minus 3, x plus 2. That's the top. I leave the 4 and I factored this. Now can this x minus 3 factor? No. Okay. From there, do you see how we have three quantities on top? We have a 4, an x minus 3, and an x plus 2. They're all multiplied, correct? On the bottom, we have a 2, an x, and an x minus 3. Those are all multiplied. Could I cancel this and this?
Yeah.
Isn't this x minus 3 connected with everything on top by multiply? Isn't this x minus 3 connected with everything by multiply? Yes, it has a minus inside of it, but it's a quantity of x minus 3 that can cancel out. Okay. Can anything else look like it cancels?
Yeah.
You should notice, doesn't this 4 and 2, aren't those connected by multiply?
Yeah.
So could I take, if I cancel 4 with the 2, that leaves me 1 down here. What's on top? 4 and 2, take 2 into both, that leaves you 2 on top and a 1 on the bottom. So it looks like we now have a 2 left over on top. That's gone. And we still have the x plus 2. And on bottom, is anything left? A lot of people will forget the x, but did I cancel it? No. So, is that my answer? Yeah. Do not try to cancel that x. Because isn't this x plus 2? This is x. You can't cancel inside of it. This is a quantity of x plus 2. We are done. That is simplified. This and this are the same thing, just different forms. Just like simplifying fractions. They're the same thing, just different forms. Okay, now we're going to do this one. A little bit more complicated factoring. The top, is there a GCF? No. The top has no GCF, but the top, don't you multiply front and back? And you're going to get what? Negative 15, and the bottom is 2. What are my sides going to be? 5 and negative 3. So that's x plus 5, x minus 3. But some of you will mess up and leave it like that. No. What else do we have to do with this type? You have to go to that 3 right there, and you have to divide both sides by the 3. Be very careful. So what we end up with on top, you're going to end up with, this comes up, you got a 3x plus 5. This one cancels, leaving you 1. Okay, that's the top. Now the bottom. How do we do the bottom? Well, that's the only way to factor this is if it's the difference of squares. Is that? Yeah. Are these both squared? So let's think about this. It's isn't that 3x squared minus 5 squared? You have to notice that's a difference of squares. So aren't differences of squares, they're pretty easy to factor, it's just those two pieces. You have an x plus 5, and you have a 3x minus 5. So you have a 3x plus 5 and 3x minus 5. If it's a difference of squares, you can factor that. Okay. I did all my factoring. Is anything the same top and bottom?
Yeah.
Yes. You now have these two that are exactly the same. They can cancel because they're quantities that are multiplied. They're connected by multiply, so you can cancel the quantities. So I'm now left with x minus 1 over 3x minus 5. Now do not try to cancel those x's. Those x's cannot be canceled because there's a minus between. We're simply done. These are quantities that cannot have pieces inside of them canceled.